Stratego is a 1946 board game about military strategy in which the value of each player's pieces is hidden to the opponent. The value of pieces is only revealed when two pieces try to occupy the same tile, in which case, they fight for it. The primary source of depth in the game is the decision of whether or not to take fights. Weaker pieces tend to outnumber stronger pieces, so pushing a strong piece into enemy lines can be a powerful move, but run your stronger piece into a bomb, and that's the end of your piece. The strongest piece in the game can be defeated by the spy, but only if the spy attacks first. Otherwise, the spy is the weakest piece in the game. The game is won when one player's piece occupies the same tile as an opponent's flag, so a usual strategy is to surround the flag with bombs, but sometimes players create fake bomb clusters to create diversions. The game's design hinges around this mental metagame trickery of piecing together minimal information and making assumptions based off of the meta of the game and your opponent's psychology. This type of design is called the game of incomplete information. Chess is a game of complete information. Players can make completely informed decisions at all times, and mistakes can always be accounted for. While chess has too much depth to be solved with current methods, games of complete information are actually much more solvable than games of incomplete information. My favorite example of this is Connect 4, which has a completely solved meta. In a game of Connect 4 between two skilled players, player 2 will actively attempt to make strange or unconventional moves that player 1 may not have memorized counterplay to, because in a case of perfect play, player 1 will always win. Now, just because Connect 4 is solved doesn't mean that trying to get closer to perfection at the human level can't be a ton of fun. Alternate rule sets, including strict turn timers and incredibly long sets, make the game more entertaining by forcing human error, but in the end, the game will always have its limitations below top-level human play. Now, at first glance, fighting games may appear like games of complete information. Unlike Stratego, all available information is on the screen, and it doesn't seem like there's something your opponent can see or know that you can't. However, this simply isn't the case, as fighting games have one trick up their sleeve that introduces incomplete information and prevents the games from ever being solved: input delay and human reaction time. Even a fighting game made to be as responsive as theoretically possible with only 2 frames of input delay will still have to deal with the fact that humans are incredibly slow, flawed creatures. Even some of the most legendarily skilled gamers can take 200 milliseconds to react to a visual stimulus or 150 milliseconds to react to an auditory stimulus, and that's a minimum. This means that in a fighting game with 0 input lag, humans would still be playing the game even more than 12 frames behind. So what can happen in 12 frames? Well, honestly, everything. Ever been playing Smash and had an opponent empty hop at you so you shielded before fast falling and grabbing you? This is because, due to Melee's 3 frames of input lag, humans play Melee 15 frames, or a quarter of a second behind what's actually happening on screen, and Ultimate is played 18 frames ahead. This basic 50-50 mix-up is actually a cornerstone of the current best Melee player in the world, Hungrybox's playstyle. He conditions the opponent to expect the back air, which is a safe move with 9 frames of startup, by using it over and over, and then slides in the grab, which is performed after landing and experiencing 4 frames of landing lag before grabbing, with 7 frames of startup, at key times to land devastating combos like up throw rest or up throw up air rest. Well, what about traditional fighters? Street Fighter V is played 17 frames in advance due to the 5 frames of input lag, while Ken Sadoken only has 14 frames of startup, and the fire on the fireball is only visible for those last 9 frames. The move has a 34 frame recovery, which is about how long most jump-in attacks take. So you need to guess when your opponent is going to throw a Hadouken in order to punish them for it, and jump at the same time or before the fireball is even visible. Tekken 7, with its 3 to 4 frames of lag on PC, has a universal mix-up that nearly every character with generics can use during pressure sequences. Utilizing a generic down 3 or down 4, or a speedy 13 frame down forward 1. The down 4 can be blocked with a crouch block, but that leaves the player vulnerable to down forwards 1, which can only be blocked standing. This means that the defender needs to guess how to block in order to block the attack. This is complicated, however, by the fact that most characters have other moves they can mix in to force their opponent to block as opposed to doing something else. The most prominent example of this is probably the Mishima's infamous standing 4. The move is known as the Magic 4, and you need to block it. If you try to sidestep, it tracks. If you try to beat it out, it will counter hit and launch you, leading to a devastating combo. If you try to dash back, it puts you one step closer to any walls or other stage elements, and also Kazumi might just running to you. In conclusion, every modern main series fighting game includes mix-ups that rely on the limitations of human reaction time to require players to guess what their opponent is doing. This adds an element of depth from psychological play not present in games of complete information, while entirely present in games of incomplete information. That being said, fighting games must be games of incomplete information, and we should play them as such, not trying to find the perfect answer in each situation, but a series of answers that could be right depending on your opponent.